Salawete discipuli, hello 8th grade, and welcome to part 2 of our Decens translation. So at this point, you should have translated this passage and have your translation written down so that we can go over this together. So I'm going to walk through the translation with you guys, make corrections on your translation as needed, and then once you finish the video and finish making all your corrections, then you will take a picture of your translation and send it to me so that you can get credit for this week. So our story Decens, very exciting story happening. So we have this sort of introduction, then we've got a dialogue going on here. So postquam Felix fabulam narraves. This is after Felix told, perfect tense here, simple past, told the story in the previous passage. Everyone applauded. Then the guests were silent and were waiting for, or were expecting, another story. Suddenly, audiverunt, they heard, audio, audire, audivi, this is a perfect, they heard a loud noise, right? Or a noise or a shout or a clamor. Everyone hurried, right? We've got that V telling us this is perfect, past tense. Everyone hurried to the atrium where Clemens was standing. So we've got an imperfect here, was standing. All right, Caecilius says, by Hercules, what is it? Why are you making a noise? So this is kind of these are some of our only present tenses here. So I lied. In the last passage, we do have a couple present tenses at the beginning. So why are you making a noise? Clemens says, Decens, Decens. Obviously, no translation happening here. It's just a name. Caecilius asks, what is it? Clemens says, Decens is dead. Oh dear. So Clemens was sent to look for Decens in the previous at the beginning of the previous passage. So Decens is dead. And everyone says, what? Dead? Oh no, or alas. I like alas for this one. Two slaves enter. Caecilius asks, what are you saying? Or what do you say? He's asking, what do you mean, basically? Servus primus, the first slave, right? Because two slaves entered. My master, Dominus meus, my master, when yebat, was coming, this is an imperfect, was coming to your house. Vilam tuam. Adjectives will often be after the nouns they are describing. And for now, they're mostly going to have the same endings, which is nice. So to your house. And then here we have Dominus, we don't have the meus, but you can also say my master again here, or you can just say the master. Conspexit, caught sight of, right? This is the perfect tense. Conspicio, conspicere, conspexi. Conspexit, caught sight of in the past. A gladiator, this is our direct object, near the amphitheater. So our master, my master, caught sight of a gladiator near the amphitheater. The second slave says, the gladiator frightened our master, or frightened the master, right? This is the verb to frighten. So the gladiator frightened the master because, right, quod is because, vibrabat, he was waving, right, remember, or was brandishing here, was waving or was brandishing a huge sword. Ingentem means huge, a huge sword. Then the gladiator shouted or yelled, you do not frighten me, lion. Right, so teres, this is an S, right? He's talking to the lion. You do not frighten me, lion. You do not frighten me. Lions, plural, lions Nekawerunt, killed. Neko nekare. Lions killed my friend in the arena, but you do not frighten me. Decens was very afraid. So timebat, he was afraid. So tereo is to actively frighten someone. Timeo is to be frightened, right? To be afraid. So Decens was very afraid. You are insane, said the master. I am not a lion. I am a human. The gladiator, however, or then, or nevertheless, there's kind of a couple ways to translate tamen. I usually go with however. However, the gladiator, ferociter, fiercely attacked Petiwit, attacked the master, and Traxit dragged him to the amphitheater. They dragged him to the amphitheater. The master shouted, terrified. So the master was terrified and he shouted. It's kind of a weird way of doing this, but the terrified master shouted. You can do, that's probably the best way. So our terrified master shouted. Clemens heard the shout. Clemens, because he was brave or strong, in this case probably brave works a little bit better, he entered the amphitheater. Right, decentem here is the accusative case of decans. So this is our direct object. So we don't have the subject at the beginning, so we're going to assume that Clemens is still the subject because he was the subject in the previous sentence and we weren't introduced to a new subject here. So Clemens entered the amphitheater, and then he, meaning Clemens, caught sight of Decans in the arena. My master was dead. And Metella kind of answers all of our questions here. I understand the matter or the thing. I understand what happened is what she's saying here. I understand the thing. The gladiator was Pugnax. Pugnax was a very well-known gladiator, a famous gladiator. Pugnax once was fighting in the arena, was fighting, imperfect, and a lion killed Pugnax. So Pugnacem, this is the direct object form of Pugnax. So Leo's our subject in this clause. So Pugnax was fighting and a lion killed Pugnax. Pugnax is not alive. Pugnax is a ghost. A ghost killed Decans. All right, so kind of a crazy passage. I'm sorry I lied in my previous video. Usually when you're doing stories, it's all in the past tense, so I just assumed I completely forgot that, oh no, there's some dialogue happening. There's some things in the present tense here. So apologies if that's where you messed up in your translation, but hopefully you were smarter than I was and recognized some present tenses in there. So make corrections as needed. Send me a picture of your corrected translation. And again, you're getting credit for having this completed, not on having it 100% perfect, right? I'm not necessarily expecting perfection from you guys, especially with all the new grammar that we've been learning in the last couple months. So make corrections, send me a picture of your corrected translation, and then I look forward to seeing you guys in our Zoom meetings on Thursday and Friday, and then hopefully in person next week. Wale te discipline, have a wonderful week.